ask the gentleman to stand when they answer the question so that all of you in the back can see. That's all right with everyone. Since we started with Chad Connolly, I'm going to start the first question with Stephen Brown. If elected as South Carolina GOP chairman, what is the first thing that you would like to change or improve in the South Carolina GOP, and why?
Thank you. That's a very easy question for me to answer, and I feel much more comfortable standing. I always have to do that in the courtroom. The first thing that I want to see us do is to push to change the election laws in South Carolina. Right now we have an open primary system, meaning that any registered voter is allowed to vote in our primaries. I have been fighting this fight for quite some time now, and I'm the lead counsel in the case that's pending in federal court challenging the constitutionality of the current election laws. But what I think we have to do is register by party so that only Republicans get to choose who will represent us as our nominee in a general election. Choosing that nominee is critically important. I think our conservative movement is often watered down when we have many independents and even Democrats voting in our primary. I think that has a very negative effect. I think that's how we sometimes end up as what are lovingly referred to as rhinos in the legislature, Republicans in name only. The idea is that persons need to be part of our Republican Party, understand our platform, and be working with us shoulder to shoulder to fight for our party's platform. And there's a very important point I'm trying to get out that I'd like for each of you to understand. Separate and apart from what happens in a standard primary in June, when the Democrats are having theirs and we're having ours, and you get to vote in one or the other but not both, the presidential preference primary that we will run next year is an entirely different animal. By that I mean that the Democrats will not be having a primary. As a result, every single voter in the state of South Carolina, if they choose, will be able to vote in our primary. The Democrats can come and mess around in it. They can pick who they think is the least favorable, the one they think is the least objectionable, and their votes will water down yours, whether you are for Michelle Bachmann or Newt Gingrich or Mitt Romney, or you just pick one out of the group, wherever it might be. That should never happen. So the first thing I intend to do is to push and to start with our Republicans in the state legislature. In case you didn't know it, we control both houses of the General Assembly, and we have a Republican governor. The Republican Party has been asking for years for the Republicans in control of the South Carolina government to give us registration by party. We've done this in prior conventions, but yet the Republicans in the state legislature have ignored us. So we need to work together to put that majority and change the law. Thank you.
Thanks. I actually want to start this question with just a statement about what drove me in, because it really ties into what I plan to change as soon as I'm elected. I ran as a guy who had never run for office before at the state level, obviously lieutenant governor, and started 3 days after I spoke in the first Tea Party in the history of South Carolina. So I was the sort of ultimate Tea Party outside guy, no connections, no nothing. And you all know this, okay? You were there. I mean, I was fighting the establishment. Let's be serious. And I say the establishment, I want to caveat by saying there are a lot of good, hard-working grassroots people that want to make the party better. But the problem is the smoky room syndrome that goes on that we all know about. And the elephant in the room, which is that what I found in going through the process is there wasn't any outreach to people that were, say, returning from war or people that had succeeded in business. To me, there was still somewhat of the good old boy club system. That's something I want to change. I want to change our primaries so they're about debates. 15 months of campaigning, and it wasn't mostly this. It was mostly, frankly, about money. And all I was asking the candidate was, how much money you raised? What consulting group are you with? You know, which consulting group can get you this, that, and the other thing? There are things I want to do, and one thing is transparency with consulting groups that will change the system to push them away from making the primaries full of money, full of power, to go to where we get real people, and you see real candidates, and not smoke and mirrors. And here's the issue, too, is that a lot of our money is wasted in the primaries. Our donors only give so much. Most of the donors give all they've got in the primaries. We have nothing left for the general because they've given it all. And then we get to the presidential primary, same thing. There are some things I can do with the consulting groups to say, look, that's fine, you're there, but I want to have open bid contracts for our vendors. I want to make sure things are fair. If you're a consulting group, that's great, but if you're going to have things like candidates come out and are endorsed by elected officials or part of a consulting group, I want there to be transparency so we know who is what and who's connected to whom. That to me is a big thing. Overall, is immediately come in and say, look, I'm outreaching, we're going to bring in candidates and change things in primary. Thank you very much.
I have a feeling that the same thing that drew me to the Republican Party is the same reason you're here. I'm here because you're here, and the reason is because we like this message. So the first thing I'm going to do as chairman is I'm going to make sure we have a consistent conservative message. Now I know you guys don't know about any rhinos anywhere around here. I understand that. But up in Newberry County, where I'm chairman, and I've been involved in the Republican Party for 20 years. The state, the local, the national level. I was a national delegate in 2004. I've done the sign waving. I've done the walk in the precincts. I've stuffed the envelopes. My shoulders are still sore from last summer pounding those signs in the ground when it wasn't raining. We've got to have a consistent message so that other people want to do those things and get involved. And when people see our message, they look at our platform, they say, man, we love what you guys believe in. Look, the whole nation just told us we love what you guys believe in. But when they see people not acting like Republicans, when they see people not voting the right way, they get confused. And it's very hard to draw anybody in. It's hard to unify the party. It's hard to build a consistent conservative message, much less a permanent conservative majority for our state, if we don't have that consistent conservative leadership at the top. We need somebody who can articulate that message and say it over and over and over again. We need somebody who doesn't mind telling party switchers, we don't want you in our party. We need somebody as a leader who doesn't mind telling people, we need you to back up the Republican Party platform. Because when I look at that platform, I'm proud of it. I see that we stand for things that matter to people like me and you. You know, I love that y'all are here because nobody drug you out here tonight. Y'all came because you care. You came because you believe in this thing called the Republican Party, and you believe that South Carolina matters in the grand scheme of things. If we're going to have a successful party, build a conservative message that's permanent here, and build that conservative majority that's permanent, we've got to have a consistent conservative message so people don't get confused and so people want to come out and be in meetings like this.
Our next question will go to Bill Connor. Recently, the issue of voter registration by party affiliation has been a hot topic. Already heard some about that. What is your position on this issue and open versus closed primaries?
Sure, and kind of easy softball question to a certain extent, and so I'll give the easy answer first, and then I've got 2 minutes, I'll continue on. And the easy answer is yes, we need a closed primary. And I'm going to tell you all something. Isn't it amazing that our Senate could not pass the voter ID bill? You guys amazed at that? There are 15 senators out there. I'm going to find all the names. I'm going to go there and personally shake their hands, because those are the people we need, because we've got to fix this system. And that was a no-brainer, by the way. The voter ID bill was a no-brainer, as far as Republicans, that we want to fix the system, keep Acorn out, and make sure the people that vote have proper identification. But close the system, it all goes into the primaries. That's why I talk about the primaries, because I believe if we fix our primaries so that we get true conservatives in, that we can reach out again and grab people and say, you know what, come to us. You got a fair shot. You can make it. You know, you don't need to be, again, a part of a certain class, part of the smoky room, part of the good old boy system to get in. You can run for office and you can make it. And again, it ties back into the reason I did run. Was when I came in, I saw the changes that could take place. And I saw what I learned over the 15 months of running for lieutenant governor. And we need a chairman who has been through that, who has seen that. And in this case, we have good men right next to me, really do. But as far as running a long-term statewide campaign in which you had to raise close to $500,000 and see all the issues with the primary system, it's something I've got that I really would like to use to help fix the primary. Thank you very much.
Yes, over to you.
Yes, we need to have closed primaries. There's no question about it. The convention voted for it. The executive committee passed it overwhelmingly just a few months ago. There's no question. You guys in Lexington see this a lot more than we do in Newberry County, where I'm chairman. I even explained this to the folks in Newberry County, and I think this really matters. This may harm us in the small rural counties in the short run, because people think of, you know, I don't want to be a part of that, I have to be exclusive. But I've explained to them the impact's so much greater. And so we have to keep rhinos out of our party. We have to keep people out of our party that can't be identified with the Republican Party. Like I just said, we have a problem in that people love our message. But when our message gets convoluted and it gets messed up, people get confused. And then people aren't really sure they want to be a part of this anymore. The closed primary system's got to happen in South Carolina. It's imperative that it happens quickly. The one thing I'd probably differ with maybe these guys and their attorneys, and may know the attorney lawyer angle a little bit more, is, you know, we own the governorship, we own the House, and we own the Senate. I wouldn't be surprised if any judge says, you guys need to do that legislatively. You know, I've been speaking for a living for about 20 years, and one of the things I've spoken about is liberal activist judges. So in a little bit of a sense, here we are being the activist judges not getting our way legislatively, so we're trying to do it through the judicial branch. So I'd like to see us push it through the legislative branch, but I believe we are in the legislative process, the judicial process right now, and so we need to get this done for the greater good of South Carolina, so we can have a party that people can identify with, and they can be proud of, and they can want to be a part of.
This issue clearly distinguishes me from Chad, and I'm glad to have this opportunity to explain it very directly. First of all, I've been a leader on this issue. It's easy to say, yeah, I want to close the primary because the executive committee voted for it. But let me just tell you, back in 1995 and 6 and 7, when we were pushing this issue, the executive committee voted against it. That's because in our system here, each county has one vote in the executive committee. Lee County has the same vote as Greenville. Williamsburg has the same vote as Spartanburg. We have more Republicans in one precinct than they would have in an entire small county. So it took us a while to educate folks so they understand how the system would work. We've now advanced it through leadership to have the situation where the Republican Party in the convention, as he's indicated, has supported this issue. And as I've pointed out, despite having control of both houses in the General Assembly and the Republican governor for more than 8 years now, we've made no success at all. And here's where I differ with Chad, because there's a United States Constitution. And that Constitution was there to secure our individual liberties and to protect our rights. And within that Constitution, there's the First Amendment, by which we have the right to free association. And under the Supreme Court decisions, we have the absolute constitutional right under the First Amendment to unite together voluntarily. The government doesn't force us to be here. As we pointed out a few minutes ago, you're here because you want to be here. And we have the right to gather voluntarily to choose persons to represent us for various offices as our standard bearer. The problem is, in the state of South Carolina, the state of South Carolina forces us to, if we're going to vote at all in a primary, to do so in an open primary with people who have different views than us, Democrats, independents, and others. They have the equal right to vote with us in a state-run mandated primary. And the constitutional law, particularly out of the Fourth Circuit, there was a decision written by Judge Billy Wilkins, the brother of David Wilkins, clearly indicated that in a situation like that, you have the right, you have to have another alternative to choose your candidates. We don't have that right in South Carolina because of the nomination process and the way it works. So we have a constitutional right that we're seeking to vindicate. We didn't go to the courts only because we couldn't get it through the legislature, but we're still trying to pursue both angles. Thank you.
You want, okay.
Yeah,
we're back to Chad Connolly. Everyone has it. Fundraising is one of the key duties of the South Carolina GOP chair. What are your ideas to improve both large and small donations to the South Carolina GOP?
Somebody told me that this job's about fundraising, fundraising, and fundraising. This is probably my most distinct advantage over these guys. I've spent my entire career not only being involved in the Republican Party part-time and working at the state, the local, and national level. I've done fundraising for myself. I've done fundraising for others. I've built my own businesses. I've turned unsuccessful businesses into successful ones. When I first took over an engineering office in Augusta, Georgia, I found the doors closed on me. The guy before me had been fired. He falsified a soils engineering report. I literally learned to put my foot in the door and say, I'll do your work for free because I want to earn your respect. And the way I did it was I built relationships. It's a little bit of the reason I've gone all over the state of South Carolina for the last 5 months. I've been out there with folks like